In the last session, we have understood inheritance feature in detail by understanding the concepts of method overriding, shadowing, and how the constructor behaves with respect to two constructors. In today's session, let us understand another two important features of C#, that is interfaces and abstract classes. So let us start with our session by understanding the concept of interfaces. So what is an interface? In simple terms, to understand, it is used to maintain the collection of members without any definitions. And the syntax in order to define an interface will be interface, interface name of, and the members. Now, let us understand some of the important points we need to remember about interfaces. The member of the interface are by default public. Modifiers should not be used for the interface members. In order to use the members of an interface, it is mandatory to implement the interface with the support of a class. The class which provides the implementation for any interface should provide the definitions for all the members of an interface. Else, objects cannot be defined for that class. So remember all these important points. Now, let us observe the syntax to define a class to provide the implementation for an interface. Interface name or names. And then we have to define the members of the class, and also we need to provide the implementation of the interface. Let us understand some important points while providing the implementation for an interface. A single class can provide the definitions for any number of interfaces. A single method present within an interface can provide the definition for any number of methods having the same signature. Now, let us observe a simple scenario for understanding the interface. Let us assume we have an interface with the name iFather. And remember that whenever we are providing a name for an interface, it is always advisable to prefix I to the name. And let us say that the interface iFather consists of a method called as loan. Similarly, let us assume we have another interface with the name iMother, and also this interface consists of a method with the name called as loan. Now, let us assume that we have two classes. One is child1 and the other class is child2. And say that the child2 is going to provide the implementation for the interface iFather and iMother. We know that a single class can provide the implementation for any number of interfaces. I already informed that whenever a class provides an implementation for an interface, then it is the responsibility of an interface to provide the definitions for all the members of the interface, right? So it is the responsibility of child2 to provide the definitions for the iFather.loan and also iMother.loan. In the same fashion, let us assume that child1 class also wants to provide the implementation for the iFather and iMother interface. I have already informed that a single method present within the class can provide the definition for any number of interface members having the same signature, right? So let us say that child1 class wants to define a method called as loan, which will be used as the definition for the loan method of iFather and the iMother interface. And now, if you observe the method loan at child1, we have not mentioned explicitly iFather or iMother. Remember that. Now, let us understand how to implement this scenario practically so that we can understand the syntax of using interface. So, let me add a new class and let me provide the name as interface demo. And let me remove the unwanted using statements, and let me update the sub namespace also. Now, let us define an interface iFather. So let me type in interface iFather, and we need to define a method loan. So let me type in void loan. Remember that we should explicitly specify any modifiers while defining the members of the interface. And similarly, let me define iMother interface also. So let me type in interface iMother, and let us define the method also void loan. Now let us define the class child2. So let me type in class child2 implements iFather comma iMother, and now we need to provide the definition for the loan method present in iFather and iMother interface. So let me type in void iFather.loan console.writeLine of child2 says 30% of father loan will clear. Similarly, void iMother.loan console.writeLine of child2 says 40% of mother loan will clear. Now let us define the class child1 also. So let me type in class child1 implements iFather and iMother. Now let us define a method to provide the definitions for the loan method of iFather and iMother. So let me type in public void loan console.writeLine of child1 says remaining loan of father and mother will clear. Now let me add an entry point. Now let us create an instance for the child2 and child1. So let me type in child2 c2 equal to new child2, child1 c1 equal to new child1. Whenever we have defined the interface methods explicitly using the interface name, then we need to define the variable for the interface and use the instance of the interface to access the definitions. So let me type in iFather father equal to c2 as iFather, iMother mother equal to c2 as iMother. Now in order to invoke the definitions, we need to use father.loan and mother.loan. Now let me add a line separator, and whenever we have used a public method to provide the implementation for the interface method, then we can directly invoke using the object name. So we can type in c1.loan. Now let us set this class as an startup object and let us execute the code. We can observe whatever the definitions we have provided at the derived class, the same result is displayed. I hope you have understood the syntax of how to define an interface and consume that. Now let us understand practically the usage of interface. For that, let me copy the code what we have written in the previous program for the interface demo, and let me create a class and let us provide the name as oops demo, and now let me paste the code and let me update the subname space name. Now whenever we say institute, usually they will look for different types of advertisements for the institute promotions, right? So let us define some interfaces to maintain the details about various advertisements. So let me type in interface ibanners, and whenever we say banner, we need to have the location. So we would like to have a method void location. Similarly, interface iads, which will have a method called as paper details. And now let us say Shaker Technologies wanted to use banners. So the class Shaker Technologies will just implement ibanners along with the class institute. Now remember that whenever a class has to inherit a base class and implement interfaces, then first base class name should be specified, followed by any number of interface names. So let me update our code after the institute comma ibanners. Now it is the responsibility of Shaker Technologies class to provide the implementation for the location. So let us provide some definition. Let me type in console.writeLine of banners at high-tech city. Likewise, let us assume that Microsoft Learning Center wants to provide advertisements in both banners and also in newspaper. So we need to update our Microsoft Learning Center class to provide the implementation for iBanners, IA. Okay, we have forgot to add the I. Let me update the interface name. Remember this, it is not compulsory to prefix I for the interface, but it is always a good practice to prefix I for the interface name. Now, let me complete I adds. Now, we need to provide the definitions for both the interface members. Now let us provide the definition. So for the location method, let me type in console.writeLine of banners at BJ Hills, road number 12, High Tech City. And for the paper details method, let me type in console.writeLine of paper ads at TOI, DC and Hindu. Now let us update our main method to display the advertisement details also. Now let me type in st.location and mlc.location and mlc.paper details. Now let us assume that we got a new requirement for other institute. For example, Shaker Online Trainings, which is used to provide online trainings. So let us define that class. We need to type in class Shaker Online Trainings inherits institute and say that this institute does not want to use any advertisements, and also assume that there is no special discounts provided by this institute also. Assume that the courses offered are same as that of institute, and hence we don't have to make any changes for this class. Now let me create an instance for the Shaker Online Training class. So let me type in Shaker Online Trainings SOT equal to new Shaker Online Trainings SOT.courses offered SOT.discount. Now let us set this class as the startup object and execute the program. We can observe the result is displayed as expected. Now before we go to the next concept, let us understand where exactly we need to use interfaces. Just remember that whenever we need to prototype or if we wanted to dynamically load the class definitions at the runtime, we can take the support of interfaces. For example, you can create an interface with all the methods to support operations like add, update, delete, create, display, etc. So that the class which provides the implementation for that interface can use as a collection or any database and write the definitions as per the application requirement. But whether we are going to provide the implementation using collection or database, the class definitions has to provide the implementation for all the interface members. Hi friends, hope you are enjoying my videos. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel and click on the bell icon to get the notifications of all my latest videos. Friends, many students are asking me where can we find your courses and how to get my courses for the best price. Friends, if you are already a Pluralsight subscriber and wanted to upgrade your skills towards Java stacks such as JDBC, servlets, JSP and Spring MVC with Hibernate through my courses, please check out the links present at the description on this video. Many students are requesting me to provide trainings on various technologies, which I couldn't able to fulfill all these days. Now, here is the good news. You can learn from me at the most affordable price, $5 to $10 for each course, which means now you can upgrade your skills to the latest technologies at the price lesser than watching a movie. You can find my courses at Udemy and also in our website technoacademy.net. The best price of my course at Udemy you can find using the link provided at the description of this video. And also you can find the price I'm offering at my website technoacademy.net. Wherever the price you feel lesser, subscribe my course from that website. Happy programming, yours Shaker. Next, let us understand one more important concept in C#, that is abstract class. So what is an abstract class? In simple terms, to understand, We can consider an abstract class is used to maintain a collection of members with or without any definitions. The syntax in order to define an abstract class will be abstract class name of members. Now, let us understand some of the important points about the abstract class. In order to define a member as an abstract method, then abstract keyword should be used for the method. In order to provide the method definition, it is mandatory to use override keyword at the derived class. Objects cannot be defined for the abstract class. In order to use the members of the abstract class, it is mandatory to inherit the abstract class and provide the definitions for the members which are not defined within the abstract class. Now, let us try to update our previous code to support the abstract class. We know that every institute requires an address, right? So let us add a method called as address for our institute class. So let me type in public void address. But one problem we have now. We know that every institute will have an address, but is the address will be same for all the institute means no, right? So at this stage we know that the institute class requires a method called as address, but we are not in a position to provide the definition for that method. So this type of method we need to define as an abstract method. So we need to update the address method using abstract keyword. Since the institute class consists of abstract method, we need to define the institute class as an abstract. Now, since all the derived class are implementing the institute class, it will be mandatory for all the derived class to provide the definition for the abstract methods. So let me update the code to provide the address in all the derived classes of institute. Let us invoke the address methods for all the institutes also, and let me execute the code. We can observe the address for each institute is different based on the definition what we have provided at the derived class. Now, why can't we make this institute class as interface instead of abstract class? Means we can observe that there are some methods where the definition remains the same for the derived class, and hence instead of using interface, it is advisable to define the institute class as an abstract class only. Finally, we need to understand one more concept, that is sealed class. So what are sealed class means? In simple terms, it is used to define a class definition as a last class in the hierarchy of inheritance. That is, a sealed class cannot be inherited further. Now, let us understand some important points about sealed class. Sealed class can inherit other class, and also it can provide the implementation for any number of interfaces. And remember that objects can also be defined for the sealed class, but sealed class can't be inherited further. In order to define a class as a sealed class, the syntax will be sealed class, class name, and the statements. Now, let us understand this concept by updating the previous program. So, whatever the classes we have defined, let me update that classes as a sealed class. So, let me add sealed class to the class Microsoft Learning Center and to the class Shaker Online Trainings, and also for the Shaker Technologies. Now, if you observe, a sealed class can inherit other classes, and also it can provide the implementation for any number of interfaces, and we can also define objects for the sealed class. So what we can't perform with sealed class means we can't inherit that class further, right? I have explained while writing the code, but not updated in our notes. So that is whenever a class has to inherit and also need to implement an interface, then it is mandatory to inherit the class and followed by the implementation. That is, base class name should be used first, then followed by the interface names, because inherit should always precede before any declarations within the class. So let us observe that practically. So let me update the code of Microsoft Learning Center. So let me remove the institute class and place that class as the last after the interface name, that is iBanners and iAds. Now we can observe the class institute is not recognized, and now if we try to build the solution, we can observe an error stating base class institute must come before any interface. Okay, hope you have understood what are interfaces, abstract classes and sealed classes, right? And these are the prerequisite sessions of C#. We required in order to learn our ASP.NET 4.5 using C#. From tomorrow's sessions, we will be having two tracks, one for C# language and the other one is web applications using ASP.NET 4.5 with C#. So in our regular C# sessions, we shall further discuss about control statements, list, collections, generics, multi-threading, memory management using garbage collections, file system, Windows services, .NET remoting, and the new features that are introduced in C#. Whereas in our web application development using C#, we shall discuss about designing the web application UI using server-side controls, using validation controls, state management, security for the web application, caching techniques, CSS, themes, master pages, Ajax, ADO.NET for database integrations, using link in web applications, etc. And where there is a requirement of a new feature of C#, I will be explaining and I will be using that within our course. This is for the people who have just joined only for ASP.NET without C# language course. From tomorrow's session, we shall have two tracks, one for C# programming language and the other one is web application development using ASP.NET 4.5 with C#. If anyone has joined only for ASP.NET and if they are interested in learning C# language programming, kindly let me know so that I can send the meeting link and the payment details accordingly. See you in the next session.